Jackson Jr. Show. Oh, 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 the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Oh, 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 oh. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA, Talk 1580, download the app.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show, Wealthy Wednesdays, and our very special guest and regular contributor is Atiba. Atiba, my main man, Atiba. Former Deputy Executive Director for the National Black Caucus of State Legislators. He's a strategic alliance consultant and president of Party Politics US. He's worked as a TV political commentator for BNC News, The Heat, In the Know with Mo, The Leslie Marshall Show, iHeartRadio, GovExec, 96.3 WHUR, and One America News Network. Atiba, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show, and happy holidays to you.
Happy holidays to you, Jesse. It's great to be with you as always.
Atiba, I am so grateful that you're here because you stretch my mind and you stretch my imagination, and I'm particularly grateful about that. I've been following the news for the last couple of days, and I'm torn between sad and extremely angry. Sad because healthcare premiums are about to rise significantly because Congress and the Senate obviously can't get their act together. We'll talk about that at greater length throughout the program. I'm sad because when I think about the 8 Democratic senators who did not hold out after the longest government shutdown in the country's history, I'm somewhat torn between anger because we were so close in that shutdown in actually negotiating relief for the American people. But for whatever reason, they determined the government needed to be opened, and they opened the government even though we were all clearly making a sacrifice that could have brought resolution to this problem much sooner. Now we find ourselves no government shutdown, rising costs that are going to be passed on to the American people, and I'm somewhere between sad and angry. Atiba, am I justified in my thinking and my feelings right now?
You're justified. I'm trying not to get to a point where I can say that I'm angry. I'm still hopeful. And my hope is that this is going to be a tough period for the next 10 months before we get to November the 3rd, or 11 months before we get to November 3rd, 2026. But, I have these shirts that I wear, and actually we have a website, this Midterms Effing Matter. And the reason why we do that with that shocking message is that what we have been seeing happen is an assault on the American citizen. I know we often talk about all the other things that have been going on, but this is it's mind-boggling because I don't think we're used to seeing such an assault on people. And when we hear the words affordability as a hoax, I think that we need to just continue to tell ourselves affordability is a hoax because we all know that it's not.
Healthcare premiums are rising significantly in 2026. The ACA marketplace plans seeing average insurer quoted increases of about 26%, driven by high drug costs like weight loss meds, provider price hikes from consolidation and inflation, though tax credits cushion most enrollees. However, if enhanced ACA subsidies expire, many could face premium hikes over 100%. And while employer plans also face substantial cost and increases, insurance rates are up. Obviously, tax credits matter. And who ultimately will be hit the hardest? Middle income individuals above the subsidy threshold. Around those making around $63,000 for an individual will feel the brunt of the price hikes. For employer-sponsored plans, employers expect their costs to rise by about 6.5% in 2026, the highest jump in 15 years. Cost sharing, employers may shift costs to employees through higher deductibles and copays. The key drivers of premium increases: prescription drugs, hospital prices, inflation and labor, increased utilization. Atiba, people are simply going to die. over the
That's-
next 10 months because they have to make the choice between paying these premiums and going to the hospital. They're just going to die.
Jesse, after the elections in 2024, then watching what happened at the beginning of this year, myself being affected by cuts that were made by Doge, losing a government contract, a sizable one, that I was working on disability employment for the Department of Labor. I was quiet for a while because I kept thinking, what are they really up to? And then it's when you look at it, and I know a few weeks ago we talked about an essay that I wrote, and I kept seeing these numbers that with Democrats as president, Obama, Clinton, Biden, we've seen 50 million new jobs. With Republican presidents from Reagan to Bush to Bush 2 to Trump now twice, we've seen 16 million new jobs. Do the math. You know, the thing is that I don't understand why Republicans continue to win, but more importantly, I don't understand why Democrats do not do a better job of messaging. On the national scale, and I'm here in Florida, in Miami, the commercials that were run during the campaign condemning Kamala specifically targeted her position on transgender rights. They never questioned her about economy. But I still believe she didn't have a good economic message. And I'm saying all this to say that where we are right now is in a place where we're not going to get saved by anyone. It's going to have to come from ourselves.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You're listening to Conversations with Atiba on Wealthy Wednesdays on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. More with Atiba when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
While you're stuck in traffic, we can at least bring you up to speed on the news of the day. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. only on KBLA Talk 1580.
I got the champagne. Everybody get a glass.
KBLA Talk 1580 congratulates our own Keith Underwood, host of the weekend entertainment show Black in the Green Room, on his recent honor at the annual National Arts and Entertainment Journalism Awards. Keith received a first place award presented by the Los Angeles Press Club for his entertainment reporting, and we couldn't be prouder. Congratulations, Keith, from all of us at KBLA Talk 1580.
At Charmin, we heard you shouldn't talk about going to the bathroom in public, so we decided to sing about it.
Charmin Ultra Strong. You can use less, better than the rest. Charmin Ultra Strong. Your booty past the clean test. Salmon weave texture, it's the best. Study up, teach a lesson all fresh. Your booty past the clean test. Yes, sir. Charmin Ultra Strong.
Charmin Ultra Strong with diamond weave texture cleans better than the leading one-ply brand, so you can use less. Enjoy the go with Charmin.
If you love to travel, Capital One has a rewards credit card that's perfect for you. With the Capital One Venture X card, you earn unlimited double miles on everything you buy. Plus, you get premium benefits at a collection of luxury hotels when you book on Capital One Travel. And with Venture X, you get access to over 1,000 airport lounges worldwide. Open up a world of travel possibilities with the Capital One Venture X card. What's in your wallet?
Terms apply. Lounge access is subject to change. See CapitalOne.com for details.
1 year ago, flames tore through Altadena and Eaton Canyon, changing lives forever. From the ashes, can a beloved community rise stronger? Hi, I'm Dominique DePrima, host of First Things First, weekday mornings, 6 a.m. to 9 a.m., here on KBLA Talk 1580. And I'm inviting you to join us on Wednesday, January 7th, as we broadcast live from Perry's Joint on the 1-year anniversary of this horrific and devastating fire. We're remembering those we lost, celebrating the heroes and sheroes who answered the call, and honoring the resilience of neighbors who are determined to rebuild together.
I've been a strong Black woman a long time, and I can't just break down now.
Hear the stories of survival, the voices of recovery, the spirit of community that the fire couldn't destroy, and yes, the angst of those who still do not know where they go from here.
Yeah, where am I go?
At KBLA Talk 1580, we don't just cover the story, we're part of this community. and we've done our level best to hold those responsible for this fire accountable. And 1 year later, we're still standing together.
It is my hopes that Black people will rebuild those homes.
So join us live at Perry's Joint, 2051 Lincoln Avenue in Pasadena, 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. on Wednesday, January 7th, as we commemorate the 1 year anniversary of the Altadena Eaton Canyon fire. Because some stories demand to be remembered.
This too shall pass.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Quality drops the beat. Come on and talk with me.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on Wealthy Wednesdays, where we have in our first hour, our conversations with Atiba. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show, Atiba.
Great being here, Jesse.
Atiba, I'm still sad and I'm still angry. That hasn't changed over the break. In 2025, 8 members of the Senate Democratic Caucus broke party ranks to vote with Republicans to end a 40-day government shutdown. This group included 7 Democrats and 1 independent who caucuses with the party. They include Catherine Cortez Masto from Nevada, Dick Durbin of Illinois, John Fetterman of Pennsylvania, Maggie Hassan of New Hampshire, Tim Kaine of Virginia, Angus King, independent of Maine, Jackie Rosen of Nevada, and Jean Shaheen of New Hampshire. The reason I'm angry, in part, is because they didn't hold the line. It's almost as if they didn't understand the resistance. And the resistance, the government shutdown, was about this moment. And I've been back and forth for the better part of a few hours now with a pollster friend of mine who said that this is the time to jump on these premium increases. This is the time. I said, whoa. I'm from Illinois, right? The Illinois House members voted to keep the government closed. But our senator, one of them, voted to open up the government. He's one of the 8. Very proud of the House representatives in the state of California who towed the line and held the line. They held the line. They held the red line between both sides of the debate, and they voted to keep the government closed. Essentially, they towed the line. The 2 senators from the state of California also towed the line, but we had a broken House, a broken Senate here in Illinois, with 1 Democratic Senator Duckworth remaining in the resistance and Dick Durbin joining, ending that process. So I said, now, am I supposed to go now that premiums are going to increase for people that I love and care for and experiencing, these enormous increases and this problem, and protest my Democratic senator? Or am I supposed to just ignore what happened with these 8 Democrats and just blame it all on the Republicans and I get all of that. But we had them, in my opinion, Atiba, by the short and curlies, and we just decided to let them go. That's my anger.
Well,
am I wrong for that?
I'm not saying that you're wrong for being angry. I think the question then becomes, what do we do with that anger? My call to action is to say, let's go back to the past. Let's go back and look at, for instance, what your father did when he ran for president. Let's go back and make sure that we register people to vote. Because the thing is that we can continue to be angry, we can continue to talk, but apparently these guys in Washington, they get it, but they also are listening to a guy who doesn't care about the people.
But Atiba, am I supposed to tell them to? I'm in Illinois. We are a state with boundaries. Am I supposed to tell people to go vote for Democrats?
No.
To stop Republicans who are ending the. Now, maybe in California you can do that because you've got 2 senators who held the line. You've got a House delegation that held the line. But what about those of us in states with the Democrats who broke the line? And we're being told to be angry at the Republicans when we had the line and we were holding the line.
So, I mean, again, Jesse, I'm trying to get to how do we solve the problem? First off, we keep sending the same people to office and expecting a different result. So, I mean, we've had these moderate Democrats that are there. We've had folks or whatever who, for instance, we had Manchin for forever, who we never could trust in what he was going to do. We see what's going on. I was just watching a clip this week of Bernie Sanders, who actually did what I've been asking Democrats to do forever. Go talk to people in West Virginia. Go talk to people who you're not normally used to talking to. We have the same issues in rural America as we do in urban America. We just keep allowing these divides to continue to fester, and we're not doing anything about it because we stay right where in our comfort zones. When I'm saying register people to vote, when I'm saying to vote, I'm not telling anyone who to vote for. I'm saying let's use our common sense and let's say if this person doesn't have my best interest in mind, primary them, get them out of office.
All I'm saying is if I lived in Vermont and Bernie Sanders were my senator, he would be one of the independents in the Congress or the Senate of the United States that held the line. I don't live in Vermont, even though I'm grateful for Bernie Sanders and the other Democrats who did hold the line. I live in Illinois, where I'm being asked, like you just said, to register people to vote, to inspire people to vote in the primary. For what, the Democrat?
But we didn't say for who, Jesse, again. We've got
the party that held the line.
So here's the other piece, Jesse. President Clinton won in 92, 96. Obama won in 2008 and 2012. But yet in the midterm years of their elections, they had less voter turnout and they lost control of the House and the Senate, or lost control at least in one of their chambers during their presidencies. Why? Because people took the midterms for granted. I don't believe, I know you say you're angry. I have an incredible sense of hope right now. I have an incredible sense of hope right now after coming from Biloxi, Mississippi last week, where I was with some of the legislators who walked out of the Texas legislature. I was there with legislators from all around the country. I was in a room, a private dining room, when one of the Georgia seats flipped and got to feel those elected officials, those state legislators from Georgia get excited. Why? They flipped a Republican seat. The Republicans are more concerned about what's going to happen in the midterms. They're not going to say it. They're redistricting and doing all this stuff. And you've been speaking so eloquently and so amazingly about the importance of the Voting Rights Act. But what they're not watching is that within their own districts, people are feeling what is happening, and they're going to feel what's happening on December 31st when these tax subsidies go away, when their health insurance premiums go up. Unfortunately, it's a pain that people are going to have to experience because of what happened just in this last election in 2024. It's an unfortunate burden to bear, but it is one that we will bear.
Agreed. And I agree that there has to be some hope. I was trying to speak to the political dynamic of, I've had people angry with me about the increase of healthcare subsidies, and I'm not even a congressman. I mean, people are very upset about where this is. I mean, I shared in a speech I gave a few weeks ago, maybe a few months ago, that, my father brought forward a rainbow coalition, but the organizing principle going forward might actually be from rainbow coalition to painbow coalition. That we actually have to organize people around the pain that they're going to feel. And that, quite frankly, requires a different kind of empathy. It isn't a blame game. I can't blame the Democrats. They're a party in the minority. We were trying to hold the line. I can't blame the Republicans. I understand them, but there are not enough Republicans, for example, in California to be upset with. The Democrats in California did the right thing. The Democratic House members in California, in Los Angeles, they did the right thing. The two Democratic senators, obviously, in the state did the right thing. But doing the right thing, because there's no such thing as a local senator or a local congressman, my senator and other senators in the states that I mentioned earlier are actually bringing forward a pain that theoretically was preventable. And I'm telling you, if I were a right-winger, I'd be sitting back saying the same thing, that you can't completely blame this on Republicans, because Democrats also have to be held accountable for some of this pain. So I get it. Organize people around their pain, because we're all going to feel it. We need to move in the direction of some solutions. how do we help people who are going to be making decisions that rather than spending everything they got, mortgaging their homes, foregoing their rent, trying to get care in a hospital, will the government ever reimburse them when the Congress of the United States finally figures out what they have done? How much debt will we accumulate as a society and as individuals in the meantime, waiting for Congress to act on what could have provided the credits and the subsidies necessary to keep the premiums, even on a short-term basis, from going up in the first place?
So when you said doing the right thing, I hear Samuel Jackson's voice in my head from the movie SWAT. Doing the right thing doesn't always mean doing the right thing. What that's going to mean in this particular context of where we are right now is we've got to organize, we've got to work, we've got to figure out that, hey, in the past, we've been so used to, okay, I'll sit at home, I'll worry about stuff, but then I'll go vote. Right now, we've got to figure out what we're going to do between now and November 3rd, 2026 to get out of this mess. Personally, I would love to see marches all over the country leading up to November 3rd, whether or not it's early voting or on the day of voting to go vote, or people standing in line for whatever it takes in order to vote. And in the end, to be able to say to these congressional members who are not taking their best interest, taking citizens' best interest in mind, and saying, you're fired. Wasn't that a popular phrase that was used by someone on a television show? We've gotten so comfortable that now we're uncomfortable, and we're uncomfortable because of the situation in terms of whether or not we didn't vote. We took voting for granted. We decided that because of labels or what have you, that I can't vote for this person when we have to vote for our best interest. So when I'm saying that this election is about recognizing and really looking at the qualifications of the people who we are voting for, and making sure not just that we vote for them, that once they're in office, that we hold them accountable and do what they say they're going to do. You can't just sit at home and just think that democracy is going to work. We're finding that out very easily and very quickly, and more importantly, as you said, more painfully.
Maybe this election is about we're paying these damn healthcare executives too much money. And even with credits, they still get paid. Maybe this election isn't just about what the politicians are or are not doing. Clearly, they are not holding the healthcare executives accountable, the rising cost of drug prices accountable. It's not just the individuals, it is also those who are profiting from our sadness and profiting from our anger. They aren't going to miss anything over the next few months or a few years. They're going to miss nothing, not a single payment to any healthcare issues or needs that they have. And they're making so much money at the top that maybe it's not just market-based solutions. I hear in my head, I hear AOC, I hear Mamdani, I hear Bernie Sanders. I hear them calling for a system that is not market-based, that covers and concludes all of the American people. The democratization of healthcare of equal high quality for all Americans as a fundamental right. I hope that's where this is going, because clearly, if the market could cover 44 million Americans who take advantage of these credits, it would.
But why can't it take care of 340 million Americans?
I'm with you.
I think the people were excited about President Obama, and then he had a book, The Audacity of Hope. I continue to tell people that the Republicans didn't attack Obama just because of the color of his skin. That was the easy part. They attacked him because he gave people hope. And what they're doing is deflating and taking people's hope. That's what this is all about.
I enjoy our spirited discussions. But I'm going to say that when I stood in the House chamber for, I think, 5 of the 8 hours debate, shepherding the Affordable Care Act through the Congress as the Speaker pro tempore, on my feet for 5 hours in the Speaker's chair. I have the gavel that Nancy Pelosi gave me, along with the pen that she signed the legislation with, thanking me for keeping the House of Representatives under control during that period through the passage of that legislation. I say that to say this. I did not vote for Obamacare that day. I voted for the Affordable Care Act.
How many people knew that?
Barack Obama advanced the Affordable Care Act. As soon as it passed the House, and shortly before it was even brought to the Senate, it went from being the Affordable Care Act because Americans cannot afford health care. And then they turned it to Obamacare. And it is racial. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. More on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580, our conversation with Atiba, when we come forward.
The biggest names, the best conversations. You're riding with Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. A statue of Confederate General Robert E. Lee at the U.S. Capitol has been replaced with one of 16-year-old Barbara Rose Johns, a black teen who led a 1951 student walkout protesting school segregation in Virginia.
We're truly grateful that this magnificent monument to our story.
Her protest helped pave the way for the Brown versus Board of Education ruling. A leaked video shows Black Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass criticizing the response to the Palisades and Eaton fire, saying, quote, both sides botched it, end quote. Her comments made during a podcast taping also slammed the lack of evacuation alerts in West Altadena, where nearly all 19 deaths occurred. And UCLA's latest Hollywood Diversity Report shows over 90% of 2024's top streaming shows were created by white people, with white men making up 79% of showrunners. Only 8% were created by people of color. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Get your vehicle ready for all that extra holiday driving at your local Big O Tires. For a limited time, save $100 instantly on select sets of tires with paid installation. For your nearest store, visit BigOTires.com.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
With the Rams already qualifying for the NFC playoffs, Chargers fans are wondering what their team needs to do to make it to the postseason. The 10-4 Chargers have 3 ways to clinch a playoff spot Sunday in the AFC. They can clinch one of the 3 wildcard slots where they win Sunday at Dallas, and if Houston or Indianapolis lose on Sunday. Houston is at home against the Las Vegas Raiders. Indianapolis is at home against San Francisco. The Chargers should put their hopes on the 49ers. There is no way Houston is losing at home to the Raiders. The Chargers' final 2 regular season games are against Houston and Denver. The UCLA women's basketball team, ranked 4th in the country, had a practice game Tuesday night at Pauley Pavilion. They beat Cal Poly 115-28. Point guard Kiki Rice almost outscored the entire Cal Poly team by herself. She led the 10-1 Bruins with 23 points. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
I'm Reverend Gerald, the life coach. Is someone you love struggling with addiction and mental illness? Is improving your family's health important? Want to leave a legacy that your family can grow? Are you ready to enhance your perception of life experiences? Then wake up weekends at 7 a.m. with Urban Family Focus and get the wisdom, opportunity, resources, and motivation to live your best life. Join the conversation on Urban Family Focus Saturday and Sunday at 7 a.m.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
Unwrap LA this winter with Metro. Whether you're heading to a family gathering or last-minute shopping, Metro's got you. Enjoy free rides across Metro on Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve. Move with joy. Move with community this holiday season. Go Metro.
The laws have not changed in California. All workers must be paid properly and protected from retaliation. Retaliating against a worker or not paying them because of their immigration status is illegal. Don't believe the lies. California laws protect all workers, regardless of immigration status. Document retaliation and wage theft. Report it to the Labor Commissioner's office. Learn about your labor rights. Visit WageTheftIsACrime.com.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with the world. African Focus Incorporated is a community-based organization whose mission is to bring Africans and African Americans together, lead charitable initiatives on the motherland, and educate people from all walks of life on the beauty, legacy, and opportunity of Africa's 54 nations. And it's that time once again when African Focus is teaming up with KBLA Talk 1580 for our 8th annual African Focus Trailblazers Tour. Travel with us in 2026 when we're headed to the Southern African nations of Zambia and Botswana for a historical, cultural, and vacation tour led by me, Dominique DePrima, Cultural Ambassador for African Focus Incorporated. Enjoy luxurious accommodations, conscious fellow travelers, shopping, adventures, cultural tours, wildlife safaris, and a giant waterfall, one of the world's 7 wonders, along with a chance to be of service at an orphanage on the continent. Become an AFI trailblazer by exploring the motherland with a nonprofit organization that has members in Africa and America to help roll out the red carpet for you, and together we'll make a difference and have fun doing it. For more information, visit africanfocus.org or call 310-676-7300. That's 310-676-7300 or africanfocus.org. Whether it's stateside or exploring the diaspora, we're with you every step of the way. African Focus and KBLA Talk 1580. Come go with us.
You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Quality drops the beat. Come on and talk with me.
Welcome to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. It's Wealthy Wednesdays. I'm in conversation with Atiba. So grateful that Atiba is joining us on this Wealthy Wednesday. Atiba, welcome forward to the show.
Thank you, Jesse. It's great to be here.
Atiba, let me ask you a question, if we can pivot for just a moment to the $980+ billion defense budget that's being proposed. Somewhere I read in the Bible that we should study war no more. I get it when Dr. King said it in a number of his speeches, and certainly in the context of the Vietnam War. He said essentially that we study what we become. If we study war every day, we look for war, we find war. If we study peace, we become a very different humanity. I'm thinking in this moment of the biblical scripture that also says where our treasury is, our heart will follow. Not necessarily where our heart is. That's becoming increasingly clear. Our treasury meets those priorities. $1 trillion budget, nearly $1 trillion budget on weapons of war. Atiba, your thoughts on the nation's priorities?
You learn a lot by how you treat your seniors and your children. So we spend more money on defense than we spend on education and healthcare combined. That's what I think. I think that our values and what we allow our members of Congress and leaders in this country to do is sickening, and our value system, our value proposition within this country is warped. I think, we wonder why there's so many killings that happen. How many mass shootings have we had? We've had so many mass shootings now, we don't even talk about it anymore. But if you continue to see war on television or see this proposition of continue to fund the military, and now that's not to say, first of all, I'm very appreciative of our men and women who serve in uniform. And I believe that what they do is a very courageous act, and I'm appreciative of that. But I also am someone who doesn't want to create reasons to have to put them in harm's way. And I think that with that putting $1 trillion in investment into the military is not just to those men and women. Because first off, if we're putting $1 trillion into defense, why do we see some of our servicemen and women standing in line to get food because they didn't get SNAP benefits during the government shutdown.
Mm. You know, I was watching the very solemn ceremony at Dover Air Force Base today of the 2 servicemen and women who were brought home today as a result of the brutal killing in Syria, as well as the civilian that was killed. And our heartfelt condolences on behalf of KBLA and all of our families to those families at this hour of their bereavement and their grieving. We understand what that means, and they should know that the nation stands firmly behind them. But there was a part of me that when I saw Donald Trump standing there saluting, and I saw Pete Hegseth standing next to Donald Trump, there was a part of me that, while I'm empathetic, and I think the American people share in the concern for these families at this hour, that we're not hearing that from the president, that this man is incapable of generating the kind of spirit energy, Atiba, that's necessary to console people. He's not just comforter in chief. The presidency is also consoler in chief. And when I heard the very grotesque statements that he made about the Reiner family without even a shred of sadness or remorse, it lets me know that the person who is in charge of $1 trillion budget cares very little about human life, that it's some kind of show, some kind of performative act that doesn't give the contemplation necessary when, and what I have observed in previous presidents who gave tremendous thought about the committing of U.S. soldiers to war and to putting Americans in harm's way. Your thoughts about the irony of Donald Trump trying to be a consoler?
Right now, I feel like I'm Harry Potter and I'm taking my magic wand to my head and pulling it out and passing on what I'm thinking, because you just said exactly what I was thinking in terms of, and bringing it back to, bringing it around to Carl Reiner. As you were just saying that, it made me think about A Few Good Men, the movie that he directed, that I've seen several people who were a part of that cast to speak so lovingly and appreciatively about him and his directorial work. It makes me think about the movie American President and the scene where Michael J. Fox is questioning the president and saying, "I don't question your patriotism, but you're not speaking." You know, there are so many, I think, parallels and things that are going on right now. I honestly, right now, and that all these things right now hurt that we're feeling. But I honestly believe that God is giving us everything we need. That, like in the book, Who Moved My Cheese, we can either hem and haw, or we can sniff and scurry about. And in that, I mean, we can either complain and talk about the problems, or we can figure out what the solution is and how we're going to get this out. And for those who don't know the story, sniff and scurry and hem and haw, it's a metaphor, but they're 2 mice that have all this cheese, and the cheese can represent money, wealth, whatever you want. And every day they're coming and eating the cheese until one day they come home and the cheese is gone. Well, hem and haw are like, well, who moved my cheese? Where's my cheese? And they just sit around and they cry and, oh, who moved my cheese? What happened to my cheese? And sniff and scurry are like, well, no more cheese. And the next morning they wake up, they put their boots on and they start sniffing and scurrying and try and go and find some more cheese. Well, who do you think finds the cheese first, or more cheese first? Hem and haw or sniff and scurry? And that's kind of where I just see all of this right now. Jesse, I mean, I'm exhausted just like everyone else, but at the same time, I feel like we have to keep our heads up. I think we have to keep our faith, and we have to keep hope alive. And I think that, you know, in order to do that, it means continuing to put one foot in front of the other. It means continuing going out and sniffing and scurrying and trying to figure out who are the best elected officials for us. What are the best things for us? What is the best path? What is the best policy? I just don't think we get there by continuing to belabor a point that we already know, that we're in trouble, and the only way to get out of it is together.
You know, Atiba, I mourn for the Reiner family. I mourn for our servicemen who are being returned to the United States and the civilian at this hour. But I am in constant mourning for the American people right now. My mourning doesn't stop. I don't mean MORNING. What mornings? You know, by the grace of God, we still have mornings coming. I'm talking about MOURNING. Mourning. I am constantly mourning. We are constantly in a state of mourning as a nation. We cannot believe what is taking place. We can't believe the violation of the cultural, the societal, and the legal norms. We can't believe that we have a fleet and an armada in Venezuela attacking little people on little skiffs like it's some kind of video game. We're so anesthetized to what it is and to what it means. It's like this is a video game that we play at home, and it's just a matter of time, by the way. It's just a matter of time before the actual images of blowing up skiffs in Venezuela actually make their way to a video game. So another generation that's actually playing video games will be actually shooting little missiles and things at the actual boats that comprise the video that Mr. Hegseth is getting away with in terms of his public relations campaign to justify his behavior in their effort to seize critical minerals in Venezuela. Up next, he says the Colombians. Up next, the Nigerians. This is some kind of global gluttony from the American administration, some kind of new form of colonialism that we've yet to give a name to. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You're listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. When we come forward, more with Atiba.
While you're stuck in traffic, we can at least bring you up to speed on the news of the day. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Established in 2020 during a time of deep racial unrest across our state and country, the Black Freedom Fund was created to make sure that leaders and organizations working to support Black communities and build power have the resources they need to stay in the fight for the long haul. We believe that those closest to the issues impacting our communities know best how to solve them. That's why in just the last 5 years, we've granted more than $45 million to over 200 grassroots organizations across California. That is the largest collective investment in Black organizing in history, and we're just getting started. We are clear-eyed and committed, more now than ever, to our people, our power, and our possibility. Join us in creating a future where Black people harness their full power to shape their lives and realize a just world for all. Learn more at fundblackfreedom.org. That's fundblackfreedom.org. The Black Freedom Fund is proud to sponsor Conversation Live Altadena Rising with James Farr on KBLA Talk 1580.
When you turn to the Employment Development Department, we'll help you get there. Whether it's support for you and your family while you find a new job, or the resources to focus on your recovery after illness or injury, we can help you move forward. From support while you bond with your newborn, to helping serve your family while your partner serves our country. Your EDD. We'll help you get there. For more information, visit edd.ca.gov.
Aging happens, but giving up what you love, that's optional. This holiday season, start a conversation with your family about building habits that support brain health and keep life fulfilling. With AARP's Staying Sharp, you'll find tools, videos, recipes, and even games to help make healthy living simple and fun. Don't just age, thrive. Visit stayingsharp.org/get started.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. LA County's new Justice Care and Opportunities Department, or JCOD, is here to support justice-involved individuals and their families. The JCOD Support Center is now taking calls at 1-833-LACJCOD. That's 1-833-522-5263. Available 7 days a week from 6 a.m. to 11 p.m., the Support Center is your one-stop shop for re-entry issues and court support. They offer court reminders, providers, connections to local services, transportation assistance for housing, court appearances, and childcare. The JCOD hotline provides personalized help to connect you with services that you need. And don't forget to check out justiceconnect.org for more information. Remember, it's free and available every day at 1-833-522-5263. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 is committed to self-care and community well-being. Walk Good LA was formed in June 2020, inspired by the Black Lives Matter movement and the beginning stages of the COVID-19 pandemic. What began as a few minutes of breath work and yoga meditation before protests against police brutality turned into a safe space for the community to heal in hard times. The immensely positive response from the community transformed the momentum into a movement. Today, Walk Good LA is a Black and Brown-led community wellness organization based in Los Angeles. They provide spaces for healing through community yoga classes, guided meditations, hikes, run clubs, and other activations throughout Los Angeles that attract hundreds of members weekly. With the help of Propel and Michael B. Jordan, they now have a yoga and wellness studio in Los Angeles called the Walk Good Yard. To join their mailing list and connect with healing spaces, please visit walkgoodla.org. That's walkgoodla.org. Or find them on Instagram at walkgoodla. This is a community call to action, a community call to healing from KBLA Talk 1580.
It's never too early to start talking about money in realistic ways with your kids. JP Morgan Chase navigates how to educate your kids now about creating long-lasting, healthy money habits. Whether your kids are in elementary school, high school, or college, now is a great time to start a conversation about ways to create healthy money habits as they grow, ultimately benefiting their financial future. Talking about money in a realistic way to support your kids' lifestyle and dreams, your first banking account geared towards high school or college. It's never too early. Explaining the basics, what you earn and what you spend, building financial confidence starts with getting organized. Learning and practicing vital money skills now will stay with them for life. Tools they will have to stay on top of their finances and achieve their goals. This segment is sponsored by JP Morgan Chase.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Quality drops the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Looking forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. It's Wealthy Wednesdays and our conversations with Atiba. Atiba, I'm so grateful that you are here. Atiba is the president of Party Politics US. He's also a regular contributor on a number of news programs across our country. Atiba, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Thanks, Jesse.
Atiba, share with us a little bit about your work, Saving Grace, how we can get it, how we can support you. I've seen you traveling around the country, shaking hands, standing at book fairs, and I'm so proud of this work.
Thank you so much. You know, it's this is a labor of love, and Saving Grace is something that I started started writing 20 years ago. And after reading J.K. Rowling's first book in the Harry Potter series, and I thought, wow, is there a way that I can take politics and the work that I do and some of the stuff I've done in environmental movement and put it into a story? And it's just a story that took off from the fact that my main character starts off in chapter 1, strapped to a chair, unable to move, unable to see, and unable to talk. And when he finally escapes and links his kidnapping to a rising political star who's responsible for the deaths of his clients in a Northeast African-American impoverished neighborhood, there are things that he uncovers that I've had people ask me, is this true? And all I can say is that I honestly have done a great deal of research. And so there is some scientific evidence of things as well as historical things that are in the book. But it is a story that I love, and it's my baby.
How can we get a hold of your book?
You can go to novelsbyatiba.com. So it's NOVELS, Atiba, ATIBA. I'm sorry, novelsbyatiba.com. And you can purchase a book. You can get it in paperback or in hardcover, or you can go to Amazon and put in Saving Grace and my name, Atiba.
Congratulations on your work. We had an interesting conversation, and I know that at the top of the hour, we're going to have 3 minutes, at least 3 minutes, for your word of hope. With Barbara Arnwine yesterday, where we talked about the Supreme Court's final decisions of the final term, which will likely include Robinson versus Calais, which is the Voting Rights Act decision, which, as you know, Atiba, could very well strike down the Voting Rights Act of 1965, particularly Section 2. Section 5 has already been greatly damaged by a number of cases over the last 20 or 30 years or so. And I'm wondering if, in fact, Section 2 is stricken down, state legislatures will be justified, many of them, in going back, looking at the shapes of congressional districts, and essentially eliminating majority-minority congressional districts, African-American and Hispanic districts, arguing for strict partisanship as opposed to any race-based tests. Your thoughts, Atiba?
I got a lot of thoughts on it, and they're not always going to be very popular. I think we in this country, we have fallen into, there's a Black America, there's a white America, there's a Hispanic America, there's an Asian American, but there's one America. And I do understand the significance, the relevance, and the importance of protecting our districts. But I also believe there is something to be said about figuring out how do we align ourselves and get out of the baiting in terms of having these discussions about race. And I'm saying this from this standpoint. People voted for fear in 2016, and then they did it again in 2024 for a reason. And I still don't believe that we have identified truly or come to grips with what that conversation needs to look like in terms of from a holistic American standpoint. That we when I said earlier, and I appreciated what you said about what you did, Jesse, in terms of fighting and talking in support of the Affordable Care Act, that, as you said before it got to the Senate, had become Obamacare. And what I say and believe is that the condition of people will not change until first they change what's in their hearts. And so a lot of us are still harboring a lot of pain, rightfully so, because of things that have happened over the course of time. And we're still doing so because of what we see that's happening today. But I don't think we ever get out of this condition until we start to recognize and lead a way outside of this whole idea or concept that the only way that we can win is if we have these particular districts. Now, some people will say, Atiba, that's idealistic. Perhaps so. But I believe that in the audacity to think differently, in order to be different, in order to find different, in order to be and find a better way for all of us.
We're going to have a very serious show on this conversation in the future, because I'd like to hear any of your thoughts on the widest institution in America throughout American history has been Congress. I want to hear your thoughts at some point in time on how do we desegregate Congress?
Yeah, and I'll tell you right off the bat to give you a head start so you can look this up, because I would look at 2018 and what did women do and how did so many women go to Congress, and why were there such long lines of women to use the restroom when they went to Congress in 2018? And I'll say it's because they organized and they fought after the 2016 elections.
Well, there may be more women in Congress. That doesn't mean they're going to be Black women in Congress. I'm simply suggesting to you that I'm just suggesting to you that Jasmine Crockett, her district has been essentially eviscerated, and she's running for the Senate. So the upward pressure from the Voting Rights Act is African American women are going to try statewide offices over the local offices, because the primary process in Black districts simply won't happen. We're going to have a longer conversation about this. I don't want to talk about it in the next hour, which is why I decided just to kind of raise it right now, but I don't want to take it over there. Your thoughts, a word of hope. We have a little less than a minute.
My word of hope is simple. Is let's get out of the hemming and hawing, and let's figure out how we're going to start, how we're going to not start, but just move. Let's sniff and scurry. 11 months seems like a long time. It's not. This year has gone incredibly fast. November 3rd, 2026 will be upon us before we know it. We've got to organize. We've got to be willing to make some sacrifices. It's going to hurt, but we can. But I believe that the hope is within each of us. We are the change that we seek, and we have to wake up and recognize that. Muhammad Ali said, our last thing, Muhammad Ali said, if you want your dreams to come true, wake up.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. More conversation with Atiba a week from today. I'll see you then, Atiba. Thank you, brother.
Take care.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. A statue of Confederate General Robert E. Lee at the U.S. Capitol has been replaced with one of 16-year-old Barbara Rose Johns, a black teen who led a 1951 student walkout protesting school segregation in Virginia.
We're truly grateful that this magnificent monument to our story.
Her protest helped pave the way for the Brown versus Board of Education ruling. A leaked video shows Black Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass criticizing the response to the Palisades and Eaton fire, saying, quote, both sides botched it, end quote. Her comments made during a podcast taping also slammed the lack of evacuation alerts in West Altadena, where nearly all 19 deaths occurred. And UCLA's latest Hollywood Diversity Report shows over 90% of 2024's top streaming shows were created by white people, with white men making up 79% of showrunners. Only 8% were created by people of color. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Get your vehicle ready for all that extra holiday driving at your local Big O Tires. For a limited time, save $100 instantly on select sets of tires with paid installation. For your nearest store, visit BigOTires.com.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
With the Rams already qualifying for the NFC playoffs, Chargers fans are wondering what their team needs to do to make it to the postseason. The 10-4 Chargers have 3 ways to clinch a playoff spot Sunday in the AFC. They can clinch one of the 3 wildcard slots where they win Sunday at Dallas, and if Houston or Indianapolis lose on Sunday. Houston is at home against the Las Vegas Raiders. Indianapolis is at home against San Francisco. The Chargers should put their hopes on the 49ers. There is no way Houston is losing at home to the Raiders. The Chargers' final 2 regular season games are against Houston and Denver. The UCLA women's basketball team, ranked 4th in the country, had a practice game Tuesday night at Pauley Pavilion. They beat Cal Poly 115-28. Point guard Kiki Rice almost outscored the entire Cal Poly team by herself. She led the 10-1 Bruins with 23 points. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with the world. African Focus Incorporated is a community-based organization whose mission is to bring Africans and African Americans together, lead charitable initiatives on the motherland, and educate people from all walks of life on the beauty, legacy, and opportunity of Africa's 54 nations. And it's that time once again when African Focus is teaming up with KBLA Talk 1580 for our 8th annual African Focus Trailblazers Tour. Travel with us in 2026 when we're headed to the Southern African nations of Zambia and Botswana for a historical, cultural, and vacation tour led by me, Dominique DePrima, Cultural Ambassador for African Focus Incorporated. Enjoy luxurious accommodations, conscious fellow travelers, shopping, adventures, cultural tours, wildlife safaris, and a giant waterfall, one of the world's 7 wonders, along with a chance to be of service at an orphanage on the continent. Become an AFI trailblazer by exploring the motherland with a nonprofit organization that has members in Africa and America to help roll out the red carpet for you, and together we'll make a difference and have fun doing it. For more information, visit africanfocus.org or call 310-676-7300. That's 310-676-7300 or africanfocus.org. Whether it's stateside or exploring the diaspora,
We're with you every step of the way. African Focus and KBLA Talk 1580. Come go with us.
Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Oh, 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 the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Oh, 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 the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Oh, 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 the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Oh, 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 come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on Wealthy Wednesdays. Our very special guest, Dr. Estelle here, momentarily, a regular contributor who has one foot in the pulpit and one foot in the courtroom. He's both a lawyer and a preacher and a PhD, a scholar, and a friend. When Todd gets here, I want to talk with him about something Barbara Arnwine raised yesterday, and that is the term of the Supreme Court of the United States is now coming to its final conclusion in this year. Any day now, we are expecting, probably on the day that the term actually ends, the court's decision on Robinson versus Calais. This is the case that grows out of Louisiana that seeks to change Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act of 1965. And the two most significant provisions of the Voting Rights Act of 1965 were Section 5 and Section 2. Section 2 allows states and legislatures to draw congressional districts that give minorities an opportunity to desegregate Congress. If, in fact, due to housing discrimination and racial discrimination and historic discrimination against Black and brown people in housing, there's always a Hispanic side of town, there's always a Negro neighborhood, Blacks on the South Side, Blacks on the West Side, Black folk in Compton. We've all been relegated to some neighborhoods. There's always a Harlem, right? There's always a side of Dallas where we from, pretty much wherever there's a Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard and wherever there's a soul food joint is where we are in cities all across our country. Wherever there's a Malcolm X Street, that's where we are. So when you have a state like Alabama that's 35 or 40% African American, given its history of racial discrimination, African Americans are dispersed across the entire state. Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act of 1965 allows for state legislatures to consider highways, byways, and streets to connect all of these African American communities into a majority-minority congressional district, not because the lines are crazy or look nutty or look like some kind of pretzel or puzzle, but because the Congress of the United States needs to be desegregated. It was an all-white male body, just like the Supreme Court of the United States was once an all-white male body. So the remedy is actually a conservative remedy. Allow state legislatures to consider race as a factor in the drawing of congressional districts. Not because we live on one side of town, but because on the south side of Chicago, we have different politics than people who live on the north side. We are a commuter district. We drive an hour, hour and a half to get to work. But if you live downtown, you walk to work or you ride your bike to work. It is a different quality of life. And that didn't just happen. That occurred over decades of housing discrimination and racial discrimination and gentrification and moving us out of the city and putting infrastructural projects as far away from us as humanly possible, putting the job base, the factories as far away from us as possible, where we have to catch public transportation to get from our side of town to some other part of town. We got to catch what my daddy would say was the early bus just to get to work. That's the reality. So after we catch the early bus and we come home on public transportation or spending a significant part of our lives in traffic trying to get home to our children, trying to get dinner made for our families, trying to be a loving spouse, trying to get to PTA meetings and meet our children's teachers before school is out, we're stuck in traffic. Always driving in the opposite direction of the economy. Always driving in the opposite direction of the central business district of most municipalities in the United States. We just don't live near the jobs. We have to commute to get to the jobs. So the argument essentially is that since we live on that side of town and we like to have balanced economic growth, where our side of town is growing equally with the other side of town, that factories and jobs are locating in our neighborhoods and heading in our general direction, is that we need our own representatives in Congress. So that when they go to Congress, they can demand that state legislatures and the Congress of the United States actually builds sidewalks on dirt streets and paves them over to make sure our trash is picked up on time, to make sure our schools are funded, to make sure we have swimming pools like schools on the other side of town, to make sure we can learn French, English, Latin, Greek, and other foreign languages, Spanish at our schools, and not just study jive. This movement to study math and geometry and arithmetic and calculus, and to have high quality teachers on our side of town, because if we're going to be competitive, our children, by the time they graduate from high school, have to have the same skill set in some other school system. And those demands must be made by people who don't see us any differently than we see ourselves, full citizens. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. More on KBLA Talk 1580 when we come forward with Dr. S. Todd Yeary. Wealthy Wednesdays.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Check out the champagne. Everybody get a glass.
KBLA Talk 1580 congratulates our own Keith Underwood, host of the weekend entertainment show Black in the Green Room, on his recent honor at the annual National Arts and Entertainment Journalism Awards. Keith received a first place award presented by the Los Angeles Press Club for his entertainment reporting, and we couldn't be prouder. Congratulations, Keith, from all of us at KBLA Talk 1580.
At Charmin, we heard you shouldn't talk about going to the bathroom in public, so we decided to sing about it.
Charmin Ultra Strong. You can use less, better than the rest. Charmin Ultra Strong. Your booty past the clean test. Salmon weave texture, it's the best. Study up, teach a lesson on fresh. Your booty past the clean test. Yes, sir. Charmin Ultra Strong.
Charmin Ultra Strong with diamond weave texture cleans better than the leading one-ply brand, so you can use less. Enjoy the go with Charmin.
If you love to travel, Capital One has a rewards credit card that's perfect for you. With the Capital One Venture X card, you earn unlimited double miles on everything you buy. Plus, you get premium benefits at a collection of luxury hotels when you book on Capital One Travel. And with Venture X, you get access to over 1,000 airport lounges worldwide. Open up a world of travel possibilities with the Capital One Venture X card. What's in your wallet?
Terms apply. Lounge access is subject to change. See CapitalOne.com for details.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Volley, drop the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 1580. Download the app.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show and the J Lunch Club at 12 to 2 on the West Coast, 2 to 4 on the Central Standard Time, and of course 3 to 5 on the East Coast and all over the world on the KBLA app when you download it. Our very special guest and contributor in this hour is Dr. S. Todd Yeary, principal of the Yeary Firm, a Maryland-based litigation and government relations firm, and also serves as the senior pastor of the Douglas Memorial Community Church of Baltimore and affiliates. Dr. Yeary is also former chief executive officer of the Rainbow Coalition, the international human and civil rights organization founded by my father, the Reverend Jesse Jackson. Dr. Yeary's social justice work includes having served on the national board of the National Action Network from 2015 to 2021, past political action chair for the Maryland State Conference of the NAACP, used to call them the Nakapa tribe when I was growing up, and is co-founding principal of Community Churches for Community Development, Inc., and as the founding principal of SALT, Strategic Advocacy and Legislative Think Tank, faith-based public policy collaborative that works on regional and national empowerment strategies impacting disaffected communities. Dr. Yeary, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show and to your show, The Politics of Our Faith.
I appreciate being with you. It sounds like I need to get a job.
Man, you got plenty of them. Sounds like, given the unemployment numbers that we saw this week from the Department of Labor, you might need to shed a few jobs and give another brother a chance.
Well, listen, I might need to start hiring because things aren't looking too good. If we had negative job growth 1 month and then they're starting to average between 2 months, that's not good math.
It really isn't. It really isn't. Dr. Yeary, we had a really interesting conversation yesterday with attorney Barbara Arnwine. And Barbara was saying that the Robinson versus Calais decision is likely to come down early next week, seemingly right before Christmas, not necessarily the birth of good news for African Americans if, in fact, Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act is stricken.
Yeah. The real question is not just what the holding might be, but what the reasoning might be. How do they get to what is the anticipated response? And sometimes that comes with some curious assessment of the conditions on the ground. So that's one. So I'd be interested to see who's going to write the opinion, but also what's going to be written in dissent, because many times we have to rely on the dissent to lay out the roadmap for how we push back. So it will be a very significant ruling. I don't think anybody's holding out a lot of hope that there are going to be some surprises in a good way, but we've got to take it at face value and be ready to respond whatever comes down.
I don't know what the manifestation of that response is going to be, Dr. Yeary, because I am so flustered by the idea that Viola Liuzzo lost her life, Reverend James Reeb lost his life, lives were lost in Marion, Alabama, Jimmy Lee Jackson. Ultimately, Dr. King lost his life. John Lewis dedicated his life to the proposition, so did Coretta Scott King, Jesse Jackson, and so many others, that the court would even tamper with something so sacred as the Voting Rights Act of 1965.
Yeah, the issue has been and continues to be this sanitizing of history. You certainly mentioned all of those stalwart names that mean so much to our lives and to our memories. But also there's this disconnect that somehow or other the current conditions, though arguably better, are somehow indicators that we don't still have these issues. So when you have voter ID, when you have patrolling at polls, when you have intimidation and false reporting, when you have the passing of very spurious and burdensome rules to be able to act upon your right to vote, when they move polling places that are now beyond your reach because of limitations of transportation, be they public or private. Those are the issues that I think we've got to be very, very intentional about raising awareness on, not just at the federal level, but also at the state level, because elections, by and large, are functions of state government The only reason the feds are involved is because there are federal constitutional rights that are tied to them, and you need 14th Amendment protections to hold the state governments accountable. So we've got to be very intentional. We've got to be very sober when we take it on. Yeah, we're going to be upset. More than likely, we're going to be very disappointed. But we're going to have to grieve on the fly. We don't have time to sit around and bemoan what many of us have had some time to think about might come. We've got to think very, as Reverend would tell us, we've got to think very intentionally and very clearly about what's going to be the response, not just the reaction.
Barbara Arnwine shared with us yesterday a report from the Black Votes Matter movement that appeared to be very in-depth. She was very concerned about it because while my focus has been on 62 African Americans that we have presently in Congress that could easily be reduced to 30 by 2028 and certainly by 2030, if not less, faster. The downside, of course, is that, according to this report, that she says we could lose 180 plus state legislators, African American and Hispanic, in state legislative bodies as a result of what the decision could outlie in Robinson versus Calais.
And that's the reality of the politics and the math. But it is also, I think, insightful as to why coalition building has always been the way, right? We have always known that just based on the raw numbers, except in a few instances, do we as Black folk control the majority at any level of government. It has always meant that we have had to align or attach or combine our collective interests with other collective interests to be able to get achievable outcomes. We've got to change that dynamic. We've got to get back to co-building and having substantive discussions that affect us and everybody else so that we can push back against what became the war, the contract on America, not the contract with America that Newt Gingrich came up with at the midterm of Bill Clinton's first term. That's where we keep finding ourselves coming a bit short because we can't go it alone and think that we're going to be able to overcome this pushback. And it's not just different names, but it really is America. This is America. Childish Gambino said it, right? We know it. It's in the lyrics. So whether you call it white supremacy or something else, it is in the fabric of America to limit the resistance and the pushback on what is this entitlement mindset for the elites. We've got to get back to coalition building, and we've got to get there seriously.
Dr. Erie, I appreciate what you said, and I think you're absolutely right. I mean, who am I to argue with a master teacher of the subject matter? But I do want to ask a difficult question, because I don't see this covered by various Hispanic or Latino networks around the country, quite like we're covering it and talking about it here at KBLA Talk 1580. Do our brown brothers and sisters understand that their congressional representation comes from the Voting Rights Act of 1965 and Section 2? More specifically, that these districts are drawn to give them an equal opportunity to get elected to Congress and to state legislatures. I don't hear them raising the alarm bell or raising, if you will, holy hell, like we are doing here at KBLA Talk 1580. Turn on any Hispanic or Spanish-speaking radio station in the nation, and maybe I'm missing something. I speak a little bit of Spanish, 4 years of it in high school. I can read it fairly fluently, but I can't speak it unless I practice it. I can certainly read it from paper. But to my point, are we the only one feeling this way about losing representation and the possibility of losing representation in every single legislature in the nation?
I don't think we're the only one. The issue, the responses may not be the same, but I think there are a few places that we can look to kind of get some information. Let me give you kind of two right off the top of my head. One would be to get some insight as to what is the discussion between the Congressional Black Caucus and the Congressional Hispanic Caucus. Are they discussing how they address these issues that affect their communities, and even the Progressive Caucus when you think about it? And what does that dialogue look like, sound like? The other part is looking at what's happening in terms of the outcomes. Now, they didn't spend a lot of time talking about it over the last few weeks, but something happened where, for the first time, I believe, in almost 2 decades, you had a Democratic mayor elected in Miami. Now, if you understand the politics of South Florida and what those issues look like, that could be a very telling sign about what's going on in the space. And some of these conversations may not be as forward as KBLA. KBLA is an exception to the rule. It's not the rule in terms of being willing to have out front, public, intentional conversations about these matters. Many places, because of the way the market works in terms of media, can't do that. And so I'm not necessarily listening to the radio, but I am looking at the policymakers and trying to understand, is there a meeting in the room where it happens, even if what's happening is the strategy, that gives us a sense that there is a possibility for coalition building that we can rely upon?
I'd be interested in seeing, depending upon the Robinson Clay decision, what Justice Sotomayor has to say. And I certainly can't wait to read the dissent, which I believe is inevitable, from Ketanji Brown Jackson, to see if even at the level of interpretation of the Constitution itself, there was some dialogue between the two justices on its impact on these particular communities. But we'll have to save that for another day. By next Tuesday, we should have some answers, we believe, at the close of the session of the court. And I am just awestruck that it comes together at the same time that our premiums are going up. It comes together that we could be voting in the next election for fewer and fewer of us to represent us in Congress and at state legislative levels. It comes at a time when we celebrate and witness the birth of a Savior who brought hope and forgiveness and mercy into the world. At least that's our interpretation. But I think it also comes at a time when there are deep divisions within the body politic and deep divisions within our country. And with that said, Dr. Yeary, let me pivot for a moment to hear your thoughts on a conversation that Susie Wiles has taken from Vanity Fair. And I know we'll be talking about it more when we come forward, but we do have 3 minutes before the half hour.
A very, very interesting assessment that she gives in terms of personality indicators that
the president's a drunkard.
Yeah, he acts like an alcoholic, and the vice president is a conspiracy theorist, and on and on and on. But my first response is initially, no, say it ain't so. It's not like that wasn't disclosure. That wasn't information. That was confirmation, right? We already got a sense of that. And so what comes out of it is when the chief of staff is unapologetic about putting this out here, does that really give us a different kind of insight about who's running our government sufficient to cause us concern, or have we become numb to the chaos and to the indifference to constitutional and governmental norms, where we just have thrown our hands up and we're like, well, whatever, we'll just wait this thing out. Well, waiting it out while we think it might be an option becomes, what will you have after your waiting is over? Because it may be a government that looks and feels much, much different than the one you expected.
I'm struck, and I do want to say that in these final 2 minutes, just within the last hour and a half, 2 servicemen were returned from Syria by way of Dover, and a civilian who lost their life. Donald Trump is promising an attack or some kind of retribution or some kind of military response in Syria as a result of that. First, Reverend Yeary, your thoughts about servicemen and women who are coming home.
Having taken the oath and worn the uniform, it is always sobering that the commitment of those who serve in the military is that they are willing to give their very lives. And when they come back having given their very lives, it all calls us to think, I think, a little more deeply about what our commitment ought to be to this notion of democracy and integrity in government. So very sensitive to that. My older brother, who served in the Air Force as a military officer, often coordinated the return of military service members when he was actually stationed at Dover. And so I've gotten a little bit of a sense of what that looks like and feels like. And so this is a moment where we got to be mindful of that.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. Our very special guest in this hour is Dr. S. Todd Yeary. More on Wealthy Wednesdays with Todd Yeary when we come forward.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. President Trump is expected to reclassify marijuana from a Schedule I to Schedule III drug, easing federal restrictions.
About time. Okay, yes. I think this is a good way for them to try at least to, make it more functional.
While it will not legalize weed federally or change state laws, the move could expand research and medicinal use by recognizing its lower potential for abuse. Maryland lawmakers overrode Black Governor Wes Moore's veto to create a commission studying reparations for slavery. Backed by the state's Legislative Black Caucus, the commission will explore options like monetary payments and expanded social services. And The Weeknd just struck a major deal with Lyric Capital Group, valuing his music catalog at $1 billion. It covers his work through 2025, but not future releases, which he'll continue putting out with Universal. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Get your vehicle ready for all that extra holiday driving at your local Big O Tires. For a limited time, save $100 instantly on select sets of tires with paid installation. For your nearest store, visit BigOTires.com.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
With the Rams already qualifying for the NFC playoffs, Chargers fans are wondering what their team needs to do to make it to the postseason. The 10-4 Chargers have 3 ways to clinch a playoff spot Sunday in the AFC. They can clinch one of the 3 wildcard slots where they win Sunday at Dallas, and if Houston or Indianapolis lose on Sunday. Houston is at home against the Las Vegas Raiders. Indianapolis is at home against San Francisco. The Chargers should put their hopes on the 49ers. There is no way Houston is losing at home to the Raiders. The Chargers' final 2 regular season games are against Houston and Denver. The UCLA women's basketball team, ranked 4th in the country, had a practice game Tuesday night at Pauley Pavilion. They beat Cal Poly 115-28. Point guard Kiki Rice almost outscored the entire Cal Poly team by herself. She led the 10-1 Bruins with 23 points. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio that's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Hi, I'm Zoe Williams, a.k.a. the voice of reason, encouraging you to join me weekdays from 7 to 9 p.m. for the world's most intriguing relationship radio roundtable. Every night, I facilitate and encourage our loyal listeners to participate in the most engaging relationship discussions you'll hear anywhere. So make it a point to rendezvous with me, Zoe Williams, the voice of reason, Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Trust me, your relationships will never be the same. The VOR is on fire tonight.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
If a Lenovo computer for your business is on your holiday list, don't shop around. Just go directly to the source, Lenovo.com. It's your last chance to get exclusive deals on the PCs you want for your business, like the ThinkPad X9 14 Aura Edition and Yoga 7i 2-in-1. So avoid all that shopping chaos and price comparing, and just go directly to the source, Lenovo.com, where PCs are up to 35% off. That's Lenovo.com.
Lenovo.
10 athletes will face the toughest job interview in fitness that will push past physical and mental breaking points. You are the fittest of the fit. Only one of you will leave here with an iFit contract for $250,000.
This is when mindset comes in.
Someone will be eliminated.
Pressure is coming down.
This is Trainer Games.
Watch it on Prime Video starting January 8th.
1 year ago, flames tore through Altadena and Eaton Canyon, changing lives forever. From the ashes, can a beloved community rise stronger? Hi, I'm Dominique DePrima, host of First Things First, weekday mornings, 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. here on KBLA Talk 1580. And I'm inviting you to join us on Wednesday, January 7th, as we broadcast live from Perry's Joint on the 1-year anniversary of this horrific and devastating fire. We're remembering those we lost, celebrating the heroes and sheroes who answered the call, and honoring the resilience of neighbors who are determined to rebuild together.
I've been a strong Black woman a long time, and I can't just break down now.
Hear the stories of survival, the voices of recovery, the spirit of community that the fire couldn't destroy, and yes, the angst of those who still do not know where they go from here.
Yeah, where am I go?
At KBLA Talk 1580, we don't just cover the story, we're part of this community, and we've done our level best to hold those responsible for this fire accountable. And 1 year later, we're still standing together.
It is my hopes that Black people will rebuild those homes.
So join us live at Perry's Joint, 2051 Lincoln Avenue in Pasadena, 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. on Wednesday, January 7th, as we commemorate the 1-year anniversary of the Altadena Eaton Canyon fire. Because some stories demand to be remembered.
This too shall pass.
You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Quality, drop the beat. Come on and talk with me.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Come on and talk with me.
We're live on KBLA Talk 1580 of Wealthy Wednesdays with our very special contributor, Dr. Yeary. That's Todd Yeary, whose social justice work includes having served on the national board of the National Action Network from 2015 to 21, past political action chair for the Maryland State Conference of the NAACP, and as co-founding principal of Community Churches for Community Development, Inc., and as the founding principal of SALT, Strategic Advocacy and Legislative Think Tank, a faith-based public policy collaborative that works on regional and national empowerment strategies impacting disaffected communities. Dr. Yeary, welcome forward to the show.
I got stationary. I had allergy testing today, so I'm trying to keep everything under control. You give me space.
So grateful that you are happy and that you are healthy, most importantly. And this is a season that we do need to pay attention to allergies and colds and anything else that we might catch, particularly in an environment where fewer and fewer people are getting vaccinated as a result of federal policy. Can we talk about health for a moment since you brought it up, Dr. Yeary?
Sure.
Your thoughts on the discombobulated nature of what's going on at NIH, HHS, and every other H in the federal government under the leadership of Robert F. Kennedy.
There's intentional behavior, and then there's intentional reckless behavior. And I think we're experiencing the latter. When you make it harder for folks to make their necessary healthcare decisions around access to vaccines, whatever one's opinion might be of vaccine efficacy or whatever the case might be, to say that you're going to restrict access, that's not an opt-in option. You're going to say, for most people, you don't get it. Basically, what you're saying is it's okay for you to pay, uh, you know, just be tone deaf and actually play with the health and well-being of folks who rely upon the government to give them insightful information. So that's a problem. But we knew it was coming. It's the challenge of, now that we got what we knew we were going to get, who's really responsible? Is this their issue, or is this really our issue? Because we refused to pay attention when the time was right. We've got to be more self-accountable to the outcomes that come from not just bad policy, but bad political participation. Because there's no way that I think that we could go too many places in this country and be able to say that this cast of characters that now runs the government should somehow be taken seriously as candidates and then be allowed to literally run the government and spend public money. And so some of this is you get what you pay for. The problem is that the price is going to be far steeper than I think any of us anticipated.
Todd, let me pivot, Reverend Uri, for just a moment. I had a conversation, really an argument, with a pollster before the show began at the top of the hour, and I had a wonderful conversation with Atiba about it. My arguments with other people turn into conversations with Atiba. But I want to go back to the argument that I had before we began our show at the top of the hour, and that
we get ready to have a fight. Is that what you're telling me? Get ready?
No, I don't think so. But I'm thinking in this moment, this particular pollster was arguing that we're going to experience very high premiums as a result of the big ugly bill, and I was saying that. I know where Bernie Sanders was on this, and I know where the California senators are on this, and the California delegation, and even the delegation in the Illinois House. But my state is one of the states where one of the senators joined the 8 Democrats who ended the shutdown to keep us from having to pay higher premiums and higher costs. So I'm torn between blaming Republicans for the cost increases because of the absence of the tax credits and the various subsidies to the Affordable Care Act, and or saying to myself, one of the consequences of, the 8 Democrats who abandoned the resistance has led to this moment. I mean, if we'd have held out just a little bit longer, we wouldn't be passing these costs on to the American people at the level that we're going to be passing them to. Dr. Uri.
Well, you highlight the challenge of political calculus. When Senator Durbin chose to be amongst the 8, he gave his rationale. The rationale was tied to more of the harm that was being done to federal employees. We certainly understand that, and it was getting to be way out of hand, though they used the air traffic controllers as kind of the scapegoat and really kind of ignored the rest of the federal workforce that was also going without pay. That's an obligation to the human side. The other side to the human side is making sure that you don't do future harm. Here's the problem now in real time, even in light of should they have been a holdout a little bit longer. The House is going to leave Washington on Friday. Will not come back until 2026. There is no bill that the House is going to consider that addresses the very issue that's been raised. There are discharge petition discussions that are going on, raised by both parties. The Speaker has indicated no real willingness to address either of them, because I think what they're really after, remember what this administration is serious about, is really ego issues. It has nothing to do with the harm along the way. He wants a bill that has his name on it. He wants his name on the checks. He wants his name on the policies. He carries a magic marker in his pocket because he can't use a regular size pen like everybody else. Those are just real issues. And so he hates the fact that the Affordable Care Act is known as Obamacare. And so if it means that he has to be mean, he can be the Grinch at Christmas, New Year's, and any other holiday that's going to come up between now and whenever they fix it. He's fine because he wants legislation that has his name on it. That's what this is.
He's a mean one.
Mr. Grinch.
He's a mean one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Todd, we have a clip. Our producer sharing with us that we have a clip.
Okay. I like clips.
I like them when they play.
It's a setup. It's a setup. I already know.
She's the best. She's the best that's ever done this. It will happen momentarily, but we might also be.
To endorse President Donald J. Trump in 2024. And Mr. President, the New York Young Republican Club is prepared to endorse in 2028.
A third term for Donald Trump. The New York Young Republicans are clamoring to blow up the Constitution of the United States. Dr. Yuri?
All right, good people. Can we just cut across the field on this? Listen. I don't care how many times they come up with some supporting script. This has been the play from the very beginning. When the dude himself says, if you vote for me, you'll never have to vote again. That's not just a cue. That's a commitment. He ain't planning to leave. The issue is going to be, can he create a false constitutional crisis about whether or not he can be on the ballot, get it before a friendly Supreme Court to see if they're going to rewrite the Constitution in real time, absent the participation of the people. That's the hustle. And every time some idiotic just kind of video with some crazy people who get together and say, well, we're going to endorse him in 2028 as if somehow or other history and the Constitution don't matter. We do not do ourselves any favors by wasting a whole lot of time reading that foolishness. What's going to be the pushback, and are we ready to legally challenge? Why wait for him to decide whether or not he gets a case before the Supreme Court? Why are we not pushing cases to get the Supreme Court to opine on it before he has a chance to figure out what the game's going to be?
I'm Jesse
That's
Jackson.
what we've got to do.
You're listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. More with Todd Yuri when we come forward.
While you're stuck in traffic, we can at least bring you up to speed on the news of the day. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. only on KBLA Talk 1580.
It's never too early to start talking about money in realistic ways with your kids. JP Morgan Chase navigates how to educate your kids now about creating long-lasting, healthy money habits. Whether your kids are in elementary school, high school, or college, now is a great time to start a conversation about ways to create healthy money habits as they grow, ultimately benefiting their financial future. Talking about money in a realistic way to support your kids' lifestyle and dreams, your first banking account geared towards high school or college. It's never too early. Explaining the basics, what you earn and what you spend, building financial confidence starts with getting organized. Learning and practicing vital money skills now will stay with them for life. Tools they will have to stay on top of their finances and achieve their goals. This segment is sponsored by JP Morgan Chase.
When you turn to the Employment Development Department, we'll help you get there. Whether it's support for you and your family while you find a new job, or the resources to focus on your recovery after illness or injury, we can help you move forward. From support while you bond with your newborn, to helping serve your family while your partner serves our country. Your EDD. We'll help you get there. For more information, visit edd.ca.gov.
In a city as big as LA, healthcare shouldn't feel far away. That's why Cedars-Sinai is breaking down barriers and bringing resources like free screenings, vaccinations, and wellness programs into local communities. From Leimert Park to Lincoln Heights and everywhere in between, Cedars-Sinai is showing up, partnering with over 200 local organizations to improve access to healthcare resources. Because care doesn't just happen inside a hospital. It happens in neighborhoods and places around the city where we live, work, and grow. Cedars-Sinai for LA.
Recovering from a family tragedy and saved over $10,300. If you are drowning in debt, then call Debt Blue. Debt Blue is a professional debt negotiation firm with over 20 years of experience helping people pay back a fraction of what they owe. Learn how to cut your debt up to half or maybe more. Be debt-free in 24 to 48 months, even with bad credit. With an A+ rating from the BBB, you can rest easy knowing Debt Blue is going to deliver guaranteed debt reduction. Debt Blue offers a success guarantee. You pay nothing unless your debt is reduced or completely resolved. That's right. You save money or it's free. Call now for significant debt relief and a free consultation. 800-200-8879. That's 800-200-8879. You don't have to declare bankruptcy. This program works if you owe $10,000, $20,000, or even $100,000 in debt. Call for your free consultation today. 800-200-8879. That's 800-200-8879.
Lena Bloom for the Bail Project. Imagine you're stuck in a jail cell and you can't afford bail and someone offers you a way out. Just plead guilty and you can go home and kiss your kids goodnight. What do you do? What thousands have. You plead guilty whether you are or not. Cash bail makes poverty a crime. That's why the Bail Project helps those who can't afford it while fighting to end cash bail. Because freedom should be free. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. If you need help getting your resume in order, finding job training, or landing a job, we've got 3 great options for you. First, the City of Los Angeles has WorkSource centers across the area offering free job support. The California Workforce Development Board can help you with everything from GED prep to vocational training at no cost to you. On the federal level, the Department of Labor's American Job Centers offer a full range of services for job seekers and businesses alike. Visit careeronestop.org, or for more info, just call California's Help Center or visit cwdb.ca.gov or call 916-657-1440. For the City of Los Angeles programs, go to ewdd.lacity.gov or call 213-744-7300. All these services are free to help you get your next job. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Nearly 7 million Americans aged 65 and older are living with Alzheimer's disease, or AD. But did you know that Black adults aged 65 and older are twice as likely as white adults to develop AD? You may be able to reduce your risk by managing conditions like diabetes and high blood pressure, being physically active, eating healthy, and exercising your mind. To learn more about AD, the importance of early diagnosis and intervention, and a potential treatment option, visit treatalzearly.com. That's treatalzearly.com. This message is brought to you by AZI.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Looking forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Download the podcast. KBLA, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. We're lighting it up on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. This is Wealthy Wednesdays with Dr. S. Todd Yeary, who is now gone, I've just been told. Does that mean he is coming back? Okay, he's coming back. Fantastic. Anyway, I wanted to pick up, though, however, on what I consider to be a dangerous threat to our society. Just 2 days ago, I heard the Undersecretary or Under Attorney General, whatever they call him, Deputy Attorney General of the United States, testifying before Congressman Benny Thompson's committee. And Congressman Benny Thompson was drilling the Undersecretary on the question of Who is Antifa? Where is Antifa? How many members do they have? Who's this anti-fascist group of Americans that Donald Trump and the Department of Justice has declared to be a threat to the national security of the United States? And then our producer, in her infinite wisdom, plays a clip of a group of Republicans who, without any shame, announced that they believe in the third term of the President of the United States, something that is clearly, from my perspective, Dr. Yuri, unconstitutional. And the idea of a third term is not sanctioned by the Constitution of the United States unless there's some scheme out there that I'm not aware of in terms of the letter of the law or what the Supreme Court might be willing to do to find some configuration in the language that justifies a third term, even though I think the intent is perfectly clear. Todd, if there ever were a group of people trying to undermine the Constitution of the United States, our producer just played them on our show.
Yeah, and they're not the originators, right? That's the successor group. We're living with the ongoing assault. This isn't new when we're talking about shadow dockets and an immediate path for this administration to take all of its grievances to the high court. This isn't a new thing. They are falling in line. Basically, they're showing us there's a succession plan for the craziness that we have endured. And if we're not careful, there will be a new generation. If you look at the aging down of the Republican Party, not just with the efforts of the late Charlie Kirk and the push for conservatism in high schools and on college campuses across the country, now with the assistance of state governments. You also see in J.D. Vance, a much younger version, no matter what Susie Wiles might say, the reality is that this is the Republican Party of the future, not the one of the past. So nostalgia is not going to get us anywhere. The concern I have is that this position of the party of the court is around this legal interpretation called originalism. What was in the mind of the founders at the time of the ratification of the Constitution before the amendments in the Bill of those things? If that's the case, I could see this court actually coming away with the fact that, or the reasoning, that the founders, if they had wanted to impose limitations, would have done so at the writing of the Constitution, not at the amending of it. And that might give them a path to somehow allow this president to forego this whole notion of term limits. And we have to be mindful that the need for term limits, as folks saw it, was after Franklin Roosevelt had been elected to an unprecedented fourth term in the 20th century. And so we've got to pay attention to that. But let's say worse things come to pass and he gets a third term. The real question is not what he's going to do. What are we going to do? What are we going to do in the second term that makes the notion of a third term less plausible? That's 2026. That's not 2028. How are we going to push back against this assault on the process of determining who represents us in federal government and the arbitrary redrawing of maps whenever a state executive gets a notion? What are we going to do about that? So rather than waiting to see what he's going to do, I'm trying to figure out what we going to do. And we need to have a what we going to do conversation, because we know what he going to do, because he's been telling us the whole time he's been coming. So waiting to see if he's really going to follow through is really, it doesn't even require us to drink the Kool-Aid. We just watching who's making it and saying nothing about it.
I don't know why, Todd, and I'm going to let you have your moment of hope. I don't know why God showed me in solitary confinement the finger of God, but I do know this. This is the structure based on my research, and it too is available on Amazon.com, that the Founding Fathers bequeathed to the future of America a constitution with unlimited moral authority. Unlimited moral authority. but limited constitutional authority. What we have in the White House right now is unlimited constitutional authority in the office of the presidency with no moral authority. I can prove it. I can prove and show the listeners 10 years of research in the finger of God. Alexander Hamilton called it the finger of God. James Madison called it the finger of God. Before and after, just 30 days after the Constitution is written, they're talking about, they're so glad that the finger of God is in the Constitution. I can prove that the finger of God is there in their theology. Dr. Yeary, a little less than a minute for some closing thoughts.
It's real quick, right? Moral presence does not necessarily ensure moral conduct. So the real question is what are the people going to demand? We cannot be the generation that allows Saul to return to power simply because we want a king like everybody else.
Man,
We've got to demand righteousness and pursue it at all cost.
I'm so proud of you, Dr. Yeary. It's still our most exciting show on KBLA Talk 1580 under Dr. S. Todd Yeary, who goes through some extraordinary hoops to make our show every week. But we are so grateful between the church and between the courtroom. He is simply the best and brightest of an entire generation. More when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580 tomorrow between 12 and 2. Look forward to talking with everyone. Until then, we're coming forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.